What up, you amazing people? How's it going? This is Bharat here. Welcome back to another video on ReactJS on Kodomok. So in this video, we're going to be discussing about what's refs and why are they very important in ReactJS. But at the same time, you have to use it very carefully, and I'll tell you the reason for that in this video. If you're ready, let's get this thing started. To make our life so much easier, I just created a simple template here. So what it's going to do is it's going to return a simple div, and the website is going to be showing us nothing. But what I'm trying to do is I'm going to create a simple input box, and the input is going to actually be tried to erase by the user. So what we actually do is we'll actually go with a button here, and the button will also be used for, let's name it a clear the value, and the input tag on the other hand will be actually taking a value. Let's call this a value of 15. Now what we usually do is, in order to clear the value out, we will actually go with the use of the set state approach, or you just give the entire component a state, and that will look something like this. So we'll create a state like this, and we'll just call it a data, and the data is going to be having a simple empty value for now. And in this place, we'll just be replacing this with this dot state, and this is how we usually look, right? So when you go here, we're going to having input box, and that's going to be value like this. So at present it's empty, so if I go replace this with something like 15, and I go here, it's showing us 15, right? This is how we usually do, and we also give every component a state. But when you're trying to clear the value out, you actually go with a simple method like this: clear the value, and we'll just go in and do this dot set state, and we'll just come here and do data as this. So initially we'll give some value to this 15, and what happens is on click we'll just fire this method up. So on click we'll just say this dot clear the value, right? Do not forget to bind the values, that's very important. So when you do this dot clear the value, this is going to be very important part. So bind of this, and we are done. So when the user is clicking the button, it's at 15, and the user is clicking, it's going to clear the value out. So this is how the usual approach that we go with when you are creating a component in ReactJS. But what refs is going to do is it's going to give every input, whatever you're referencing in the input, or whatever element that you're referencing in your DOM elements, some important tag which can be reused outside the component or outside the lifecycle of the component. As we all know, every state is going to be contrary, or it's going to be contained in single component only. For example, this home app is a simple component, and this state or the date of 15 is going to be contained only with React component of home app. So if you want to access this state outside the component, for example, there's another component outside which is going to be called as a home app 2, that cannot access the value state from outside. In order to do that, we have something called as refs, which will actually access the element itself, where you can just give something like this, the input element, something like this. We can just say ref is equal to, and we can just give it a name. For example, I'm going to give it a name of ref is equal to my input tag. So this is going to be my input tag, or this is going to be the input which I can reference now with this key. So this is going to be the key for referencing this input tag only. Now I'm just going to do is I'm just going to replace this input, this set state, with my previous value, which is I'm going to do 15 here, and I'm also going to be removing this state. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the state itself. I'm just completely removing the dependency of states, and also this dot set state here again. This is not going to do anything for us. But in place of that, what I'm going to do is, I think I removed the, okay. What I'm trying to do is, with this ref now, can I just clear the value out? I think I can. So how am I going to do that? We have something in React called as a React DOM, right? We have not used it apart from actually rendering the home app. But what React DOM does is that it's going to have the entire DOM elements contained in that class. We can access any element we want through the React DOM class. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just going to do the React DOM dot find the node. So what I'm going to do is find DOM node, and now I can do is this dot refs dot whatever key I gave the key as my input tag, right? This is going to be my tag. I'm going to do is put the value, and I'm going to say make it empty. So this is going to be my experimentation. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm just, instead of using the state itself, I'm directly accessing the input tag with the key which is here, and I'm going to set it to some value like this. So can I do that? Yes, I think so. We'll just go back here. This is a 15 now. When you click this, by magic it just goes away, which is actually against what we learned so far. We learned everything should have a state, and the state should only be controlled inside a React component, which is actually very true. But at the same time, why is the use of refs being used here? The primary need for refs in this part is to actually access the input or whatever element we are using as part of one component outside some other component. We can actually access this ref and we can actually say give some animation to this ref, or we can give some other focus element to this ref, something outside the life cycle of a component. Only then you should be using refs. If there is going to be something as simple as using states for a simple React component itself, we should actually be trying to use everything through that state only. In a lot of scenarios, we might have to have access between couple of different components. In that scenario, make sure that you try to move your state up in the first place. If there is no chance that you can move your state up, then consider if there is any other way that you can actually rearrange your elements in such a way that your states are actually properly handled. If there is no other way and you have to access something outside your React component, only then use refs. These refs can even be used outside the React component. I don't want to give another long explanation to create another home app or something like some other app React component and show you how I'm able to access this input. Rather, you can just directly try it out yourself and test how useful it is to access some element like this outside the lifecycle of a component. So again, I'm trying to reiterate very, very clearly that do not use refs at any cost until the chance there is some very heavy use of accessing an element outside the React component. Only then you're going to be using refs, and unless you'll always depend on your props and your states and try to handle everything through these two properties only. In that case, I hope you understood what the refs actually do. The refs actually, again, in the shortest term, give a reference to an React DOM element. Any element, you can just give refs to that, and you can just access that outside the React and do anything with that. It's a very, very useful, at the same time very, very costly and very, very cautious property as part of the React component. So make sure that you learn that and use it wisely in your React component. Let me meet you in the next video, something very, very useful and informative. Until then, it's Bharat. Peace out. Have a super awesome day.